Jurassic World Rebirth. This is a spoiler review. I have a review up on my blog, soundedbettermyhead.com. No spoilers on there. In fact, it's a pretty short review. Not that there's like a ton of spoilers necessarily, but anyways, I ended up giving this movie. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. It was just mediocre. The short version of it was basically a little bit of anything you would expect from any Jurassic World movie. It's got a lot of elements from a lot of different movies kind of thrown into one, and it's just more of the same basically. And the plot is basically they need a reason for these people to go back to a Jurassic Park type island, which we've seen plenty of times in the franchise, and then they got to do something, and things go wrong, and now they're on the run from dinosaurs, and they're trying to escape. More or less. In this case, they happen to be needing to get samples from 3 specific dinosaurs. I'm not even going to get into the why they're there. It's really important. The why is a MacGuffin. It's just the reason to get them on the island of the dinosaurs. And then those also, besides the regular dinosaurs, now there's these mutated ones, which kind of ties back in a little bit from the previous films. The last 2 had the whole concept of like genetically modifying or making unique dinosaurs. This plays off that a little bit, and also starts off a random thing that was like, I thought I was watching Final Destination for a minute, because apparently these high security doors they had where they're making these super deadly dinosaurs can just be shorted out by like a floating candy wrapper, which just, I said, just seems like something Death would do in the Final Destination franchise to like kill a bunch of people. But that's a sidebar there. Again, there's nothing special about these new dinosaurs. Like I didn't think for a little bit that you see it, the D-Rex is okay. It looks pretty fugly, and I guess that's the point. It was too dangerous and too hideous to like be sent off the island. And then the flying pterosaur raptor combos looked. I didn't think they looked that cool. They were pretty smart. They were pretty, and they could fly and all that. But I don't know. They didn't look like anything too special. And there's also, as far as the plot goes, it felt like there was 2 movies going on, and it didn't quite mesh together. There was the main plot with the mercenaries going to the island and doing their thing, getting their samples. And most of the there's like 3 or 4 mercenaries. As soon as you see them, like, all right, this guy's getting eaten, this guy's dying, and then it's like no surprise when they're taken out. And their stories get a little bit more proactiveness to it, because these guys are mercenaries, so they could fight back a little bit. Not that it really helps that much against the dinosaurs, but you feel like they could kind of go on the attack somewhat. And then there's a second story about this family that gets their boat capsized by dinosaurs, and they end up on the island as well, trying to make their way to this little, where they had they're calling it the settlement, but it's where like the park was going to be, and it had like grocery stores and whatnot, or convenience stores. And it's them more having to run, because they're just, the average Joe was on the dinosaur-filled island. And that part's not bad either. This little side thing about the daughter's dating this D-bag boyfriend, and the dad doesn't like him, but then he kind of starts to grow on him. And I said, both stories are okay for what the movie is, but it's kind of jarring when you cut from one to the other. It's like you're getting into the one story, I'm like, all right, I'm into this, and then it cuts back to the other one. I'm like, oh, these guys again, and then you get back into it, and then it cuts back. And when it comes together, it doesn't come together that strongly. They did do one good thing, is they mentioned how one of Scarlett Johansson's character's teammates was killed on a previous mission, and how much that affected her. And even Mahershala Ali's character, he's like, oh, that's messed up, because he knows the guy. So they put that out there that how much it hurts them when their teammates are killed. So even when these red shirts are eaten by the dinosaurs, you feel a little bit, because you feel bad for the main characters. Like, oh, like they already lost a guy, and now they lost more. So like that's one little tidbit they threw in there that actually helped the movie. As far as those 2 leads I just mentioned, they're good, and I think they carry the movie, but they carry more on their star power than their acting and like the characters that are written for them. It's just like, all right, this is Scarlett Johansson just playing like a cocky, kind of a Black Widow-esque character that we've seen before. I think that once the action starts happening and they're in survival mode, it feels less like I'm watching Scarlett Johansson play a character, and now I feel like I'm watching a character like in a scene in the movie. And the acting, the rest of the ways is okay. The family's fine. It's nothing groundbreaking. The effects overall look pretty good. There's some definitely clear CG. There's some weird stuff too, where like you got these massive dinosaurs, and they pretty much sneak up on people. Like they're looking for the Titanosaurus, which is like one of the biggest dinosaurs that's ever lived, and it's like they don't see them. I know they try to set it up, you couldn't see them over this ridge, but like you couldn't see or hear these things until like the last second apparently. And there's a scene with like this huge T-Rex. Something blocks the girl's view for like a half a second, and then he vanishes. Like the way these huge dinosaurs just disappear. I know, yeah, he really kind of rolled over towards the grass, so she was out of her sight line. But the way it does it, it's like, what? You didn't see that? Like you can't find it. How does he disappear? And like I said, just around the movie, like I said, when it was in the action mode and they're running from dinosaurs, it was fine. There was decent enough tension, except like I said, you knew certain characters were safe, and you knew certain characters were going to die, especially in the mercenary team. On the family, I could have seen the dad or maybe the new boyfriend getting taken out, especially if there was like a sacrifice for like to save the rest of them. But there was a lot of parts where the little girl was in danger, and I've seen enough of these movies to know she was 100% safe. I'm like, yeah, that T-Rex is about to bite her, but she's fine because it's a Jurassic World movie. They don't kill kids like that. So I think that killed a lot of the tension. It was when they were going after the dad and the boyfriend a little bit more. I think there would be a little more tension because I thought those two could actually bite it or get bit, if you want to put it that way. I think that's about all I want to say of the movie. Like I said, it was fine. Like there's parts where I'm like enjoying it, but then there was a lot of when it got to the point where stuff wasn't happening, I was kind of getting bored. I'm like, all right, let's do something. And they said again, at least trying to get the samples for the mercenary team they had goals, so you knew what to expect, but the family was just trying to get from point A to point B, and it was just a little like, okay, it's so vague. Like, okay, when do they get to the little, town settlement or whatever? And yeah, that's about it. Like I said, I have a spoiler-free version of this review up. I have some other movie reviews. I got TV show reviews. There's a couple video game reviews thrown in there somewhere. I got my comic strip that's put out, every couple days. So if you want to check any of that stuff out, that's all at soundedbettermyhead.com, and thanks for watching.